Trubisky throwing. It's the old Stanford band play. Back at the 4-yard line. Into the end zone it goes, and the Browns are going to recover there. Denzel Ward. That's going to be a touchdown. There's no extra point, but that may be meaningful to some of you. And you know who I mean. 29-17, the Browns win it.
I feel like it was a lot closer tonight offensively.
We just got to be better in the second half. I thought the first half we did pretty good. We're getting there. It's just not where it needs to be in order to get a victory. So I thought in the first half we made some steps in the right direction. Second half just wasn't good enough.
What was the difference in the first and the second half? Where did things kind of derail?
I think a little bit of rhythm, and then we just didn't hit on the plays we needed to. We had some crucial plays in the second half that if we get those plays, it might have been a different story, and we just didn't hit on them. So I think there's a few more details in there that we'll have to go back and watch on the film.
I mean, you guys spent a lot of time on the field out there.
It's our own fault. 3 and outs. You do that, you're on the sideline. But as a defense, we can get off the field. I think they had like a normal drive in the second half that they were able to sustain the clock.
I know it's the same for both teams. Does a short week play into it at all?
I ain't buying into that, man. Like, they were on the same thing and they got the job done. So you won't hear me make an excuse about that.
And there you have it, very frustrated Cam Hayward right there. As you just heard right there on the opening, this was the following loss to the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to this special edition here of Show Blitz of the Steelers versus Browns Thursday Night Football post-game show recap. I just want to apologize to any who saw it yesterday. I was trying to get this thing going. I had to cut off, so I apologize for not posting any updates, but we're here right now. Just want to get into this right now. It's been a frustrating last few days, of course, understandably so. Steelers do go on to lose this one to the Browns. 17-29 is your final score here. As the Steelers should not sweep the Browns this time around. They'll have an opportunity to split with them. And the last time that happened was 3 years ago, back in 2019. So we'll find out. But anyway, you just heard Mitch Trubisky's comments on the loss right there. Just definitely very incredibly alarming right now. And the only frustrating thing is I feel like Mitch Trubisky, he just seems to feel like a guy that's almost like a dead man walking right now at this point in his career. I mean, people have definitely termed the phrase lame duck quarterback right now on him. And to be honest here, listen, I always said all along that I was not enthused about having this guy being signed on the team, but when he did get dumped on their lap, they signed him in free agency. How are you going to make this work? And we always kept hearing, from Mike Tomlin with Matt Canada was that, they want a mobile quarterback, which Ben was not doing. So, I mean, as inconsistent as his offense was, and of course, coupled with the fact of a struggling offensive line a year ago, which seems like it's doing a little bit better this time around. I mean, I think it's doing a good job protecting the quarterback so far. But the problem remains right now, it's just not scoring enough points at this point in time. Because when you look at like where they were last year, I mean, when you think about the team, I mean, going into this season for 3 games, I mean, when you take a look at everything, I mean, they had 50 points through 3 games here, which is about 17 points a game. And then you go into this year right here, where they're having right now about averaging 18 points a game, which is almost like barely above the same mark where they were last year. They're pretty much almost in a similar boat. So not really much has changed. Mike Tomlin, he was asked to where he was going to have like a quarterback change, basically. And he said a definitive no. I'm not in that mindset. I'm interested in reviewing this tape, looking at the totality of it, and figuring out how we collectively get better. So to answer that question, definitely no. Now, as you know, the Steelers' offense has been struggling in particular by more particularly third down conversions. I mean, they're still struggling a little bit with the run. I mean, when you look at the tape right now, I mean, because for 3 games right now, I mean, their rushing attack right now, I mean, when you look at it, they're 22nd, which is still not good enough. But I think the biggest disturbing, alarming stat, too, has been the third down conversions. Let's be honest with that. I feel like right now, when you look at third down conversions, more particularly, and I tweeted this out last evening. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, from the standpoint of, I mean, here's the thing that's killer right now. They are terrible right now when it comes anything beyond 5 yards or more. I mean, anything above 5 yards when it comes to third down conversions. On a year, they're 13. Excuse me, they are 3 of 15 beyond 5 yards for the season, which includes going 3 of 13 passing attempts and over 2 running the ball. But however, when it's 5 yards or less, Steelers, I mean, for the most part, I mean, they're electing 83% of the time, 20 out of the 24 play calls they're using, where it's pass versus run. They're passing the ball 20 as opposed to 4 times. So, and they're only going 620 on passing attempts with third downs or less, but they're perfect running the ball in that category, which they're 4-4. But in totality, for 5 yards or less, 10 of 24 for 42%. And like I said, anything above 5 yards, 3 of 15. That has got to change, if you ask me. And that's going to be the thing right there. And you want to know why Trubisky's struggling right there. And a lot of people are definitely questioning, he is not the guy, or a lot of people are just sniffing out, plain simple. I can understand that. But at the same time, too, there's a lot of people right now who are wailing on, once again, Matt Canada as the OC right now. And he does not look any smarter in this regard. And I tweeted up a poll yesterday. I just want to thank those of you who took the time to vote. I was asking you, Steeler Nation, basically, what stood out more particularly to the Browns' loss on Thursday Night Football? Would it be converting the third downs 1 of 9, or the run defense allowing 171 yards, where they gave up 4.5 yards per attempt? And definitely, I mean, the running game, no doubt about it. I mean, they got outgained by 67 yards, but in the second half is where the difference in the run game was showing right there. I mean, the Steelers started off solidly. They had 88 yards off 16 attempts in the first half, averaging 5.5, as opposed allowing 79 yards. 79 yards. I mean, you look at run defense, which was dead last right now. I mean, that's not very good at all. But in the second half, you still allow the Browns to get an additional 92 yards. And in the second half, you only have 16 yards to show for that. Now, granted, I do feel like, the combination of Najee Harris and Jalen Warren did an excellent job. I thought, running there as a punch. Was it enough? No, but in totality, they did have 104 yards tonight, averaging 4.7 yards per attempt. And unfortunately, the only 2 touchdowns that were scored was on the ground. There was no passing touchdowns in this game. So this is where you gotta look at it right here. And that's the thing right here. I mean, Mike Tomlin in particular, I mean, when you look at it, he was saying, if you can't slow down Chubb, you can't beat this group. And Chubb had a terrific night right there, going for 113 yards on the ground, averaging almost 5 yards carry. Got the only touchdown on the ground. 2 touchdowns were passed by Jacoby Brissett in this game, but Kareem Hunt did compliment him well in that game. He had 12 carries for 47 yards right there. So a nice 1-2 punch, averaging almost 4 yards carry right there. And those are the big keys right there. Then you also saw, Jacoby Brissett even converting a few short yards conversions in this game. And when you look at it for right now, I feel like, just the biggest backbreaker too. It was definitely the run game, no question about it. More in particular, winning the battle at the line of scrimmage. And when you're not winning that battle at the line of scrimmage, you're going to get beat up in that game. You're going to get your butts handed to you. And it showed in the time of possession right there. The Steelers did not get enough time to control the ball in the second half. They only had for only 10.5 minutes, while the Browns had nearly double that. And the final result was the Cleveland Browns had the ball for over 36 minutes, while the Steelers had for almost 24 minutes. That is problematic when you're not trying to do that. So, another thing is too, I'm surprised a lot of people ain't bringing this up, but I feel like the verdict is still out. But I'm a little bit concerned right now. I gotta be honest with you. Brian Flores, he is the senior linebackers coach. I'm willing to give this guy a little bit more slack. I do understand too that Devin Bush, he is trying to prove something. Once again, Devin Bush, seems like he's doing not bad so far. As far as inside linebackers, he's second in the team on tackles as far as for the season. He's got 20 so far for the year. So, right there, when you look at it in that regard, he's averaging about over six tackles a game right there. Miles Jack is a leading group right there, but Devin Bush, he is fourth in this team overall. And when you look at when you had guys like Tyson Alala, who's lost for the season right there, who's definitely playing right now on this team, it's just definitely disappointing to say the least. Who was their nose tackle, and for right now, he still is. He's still their nose tackle. Listed on the depth chart, but Tyson Alala does not seem to be the same guy right now. Alala for right now, who's playing at that position, he has only got 6 tackles for the season. I remember this is a guy right here who was at the age of 35 right there, who has knee injured. I forget if it was the second or third week of last year, but he is clearly not himself just yet. So I'm going to ask you right now, what do you feel is a more alarming concern? Would it be particularly with the offense not converting enough third downs? Or would you say the run defense, stopping the run? You can't go wrong with either one. But if I'm going to lean towards one thing that's really needs to change, I'm looking at third down conversions clearly. And even TJ Watt, if he was able to be available, let's just say if he didn't get hurt, I still think they lose this game. As much as a game changer as he is in this game, it's very hard to believe that he would be, stop them from losing this game right there. And contributing writer and editor Dale Lolley, formerly of DK Pittsburgh Sports, he is now a contributing writer and editor for Steelers.com. You can also see him on the Steelers live panel of rotating hosts right there and analysts. He was basically saying on TJ Watt, with regards to look for a silver lining during pre-game warmups on Thursday night, Watt was running 50-yard sprints and turning his arms as he did so. Showed no ill effects from the pectoral muscle injury that landed him on a reserve and injury list. He still has 2 more games that he can be designated for return, and it appears to look sooner rather than later. And you look at a guy right now who's definitely starting off good. we'll see if it continues to grow and add on throughout the season. But Alex Highsmith right now, for the most part, who on this team right now, I mean, throughout this time, he's the lead dog with sacks with 4.5. And then he's also leading the team in quarterback hits with 4. He's got one more than tackles for loss. He's got 4. And then he's got 7 quarterback hits right there for the season. Alex Highsmith, I mean, he's the guy right there who's really starting to come into his own right now. I mean, you look at this guy right here who's been, I mean, just doing nothing but getting better so far. I mean, he had 6 sacks a year ago, and he's on pace to smash that record so far. I mean, this is a guy right now who's averaging 1.5 sacks per game, to say the least. And I mean, if you were able to keep that up, I mean, basically, I mean, he could get up in the high teens, maybe close to 20 sacks. I'm not sure about that, but I mean, I'm really starting to wondering right now too. I mean, how much in due time our coaches and offensive coaches are going to find a way to like pick up on him. I mean, offensive line coaches to like limit Highsmith. Now he's starting to pick up and heat up now. But TJ Watt, like I said, he's got about another 2 more weeks. So that would be after the Buffalo Bills game. Basically, he will be designated for return, then they'll just have to go from there. But yeah, but since 2018, the Steelers right now, another thing was too that stood out was missed tackles in this game. There was a lot of missed tackles in this game. And since 2018, according to Pro Football Reference, when they started putting out the advanced defensive stats on their website, since that time, they've been 30th in that inaugural season with 80 missed tackles, so that's towards bottom. 19th in 2019 with 106, 14 in 2020 with 111, 4th in 21 with 125, and 7th this season with 16. So ever since 2018, that has been slowly, they've been missing a lot more tackles little by little. And that's one thing right there too. When you look at Steelers teams in the past, just watching with the eye test, even in those years back in 2015 and 2016, when they were still making the playoffs, there was a lot of games where we saw right there where they missed a lot of crucial tackles throughout those seasons right there. That could have cost them and done them a lot sooner. Also, getting back to regards to the game right here, one of the teammates who was frustrated after this game, Deontay Johnson, wide receiver, he says in regards to the struggles, it could be anything when it comes to them. When I say them, I mean the coaches. I'm not throwing them under the bus, but we can only do what they tell us to do and make plays. That's about it. And yeah, I mean, he is definitely outlying like I mean, it doesn't sound like he's necessarily say that. I don't think he's like, like really ripping the coaches, but it almost sounds like he's ripping, like Mitch Trubisky and his quarterback play a little bit away. I mean, read between the lines. I mean, the key thing is towards the end is like, gotta go out and make plays. So it pretty much comes down to execution. And that's the only sad thing is where I do feel sorry for a guy like Mitch Trubisky right now. I mean, who knew going into this season that, listen, he was okay with the fact that, and he was aware that they were going to eventually draft a quarterback. He was going to have someone breathing down his back at some point. Everyone knew that he's not going to be a long-term answer, but I just still feel like it was just kind of like a little crazy how they signed to a cheap deal. I mean, once again, when you break down, his contract, for what they did for Trubisky, basically for this season. And it's just, I'm still just scratching my head, like how they were able to just like get him as a replacement for Ben Roethlisberger back on March 14th. I mean, he's got a 2-year deal right now. His cap number right now is over $3.66 million. And then next year it'll be over $10.625 million right there. But it's built up, I mean, with incentives right there. I mean, where he's getting fully guarantees over $5.25 million right here. So a 2-year, $14.3 million contract with Steelers, 5.25 guaranteed. I mean, this is a contract they can more likely get out of. But for right now, it's very like laughable at this point what they did. And I mean, here they are. I mean, they kind of made their own bet in a way. I mean, the Trubisky train, I think, is slowly starting to lose pastures and riders on this train so far. Not saying like his teammates don't still want him to do good, but I mean, you clearly don't want to get into a point where you start to like lose a locker room right there. And the only thing is too, I mean, Mike Tomlin right now, he wants to look through things thoroughly. But again, if your running game is failing you and you're not converting enough third downs, why not hand off to your running game in those third and short situations like I outlined earlier? That is just inexcusable at this point. You got to be a lot smarter than that. Then we were going over the Steelers versus Browns post-game show here and what's ahead. Once again, you guys can follow me on social media, on Twitter at MountSteelCGR, and on Instagram at MountSteelNation. So let's go ahead get into like some more things coming up right now too. Game balls. Let's go ahead and get into that. Game ball, I'm only going to give it on defense. Offense, not to serve you that night. You can maybe argue the run game, but the run game did not do enough right there. And Najee Harris is slowly starting to get some confidence, but needs to be better. I'm only going to give it on defense. Alex Highsmith, he gets game ball for Thursday night's loss. He had 8 tackles right there, coupled with he had a sack and a half in that game, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits right there. And he's, as a result, he's leading the team in sacks, tackles for loss, and quarterback hits. So that's where I'm going to go with that. Now, coming up right now, Steelers, let's see if they could snap out of this right now, because right now, they're going to be having a tough slate coming up right now. 2 out of their next 5 games in the month of October is going to be at home. They're only going to have 2 home games. That'll be next Sunday versus the New York Jets, and then 2 weeks later against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Jets right now, once again, I mean, everyone's looking at it, should be a winnable game, but it's like Peter King would even say too, like on Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio, that's not even like a given right now at this point. That's not even like a sure thing. I mean, the way this team is playing right there. And then, I mean, I think the only way I do see Kenny Pickett, being put in there, as opposed to Mitch Trubisky, if Trubisky, let's say if they're winning, but he struggles real bad throwing the ball or just making some passes, if it may, like poor passes, if it continues lack execution on third downs, or if he's not even going past, like, say, 150 yards, you may see a change, or just turn over the ball. What if he starts turning over the ball? I think that those would be the signs right there. I mean, the only good news I could say right now, this is usually Mike Tomlin's favorite hot month right here. I mean, in the month of October right now, 12 times in his career where he's had winning records in that month. 2007 through 2009, 2011 through 2014, and then a 5-year streak, which is the longest streak in Mike Tomlin's coaching career, especially his only team with the Steelers. 5 straight years since 2017, where he's had winning records right there. He has been perfect in that month 3 times back in 2009, 2018, and 2020. And he had wins of 4 or more 3 times in 2009, 2011, and 2017. So if you're looking for anything to be encouraged about, I mean, with Tomlin right now, I mean, going into this next slate of games, it would have to be the month of October right now. And that's the bottom line for right now. And I just feel like right now, too, I mean, they got a lot of thinking to do right now. I mean, just where, I mean, is the running defense going to show up? I mean, the only good thing so far about this game is that they've been able to stay healthy so far for right now. I mean, it doesn't seem like much injuries has popped up yet. But going forward, it is definitely going to be right now. I mean, and it's going to be interesting to see like how it's changed the trajectory of the season. The only good thing I could say, it's only 3 games, but you do have to pay attention to that. At the same time, they're 1-1 division, 1-2 in the AFC conference right now. And we'll see how they continue to make this happen right now. But it's definitely a tough road sledding. As a reminder, too, last year was the only season when the Steelers, if they started off 1-3, that was the only time they were able to make the playoffs. I mean, under coach Mike Tomlin. But I want to just throw out one other thing, too, with Mike Tomlin. Let's get into this real quickly. A lot of things has been emphasized too, and I heard this from many people like Colin Dunlap and people in the local Pittsburgh media too. I mean, of course, I mean, everyone is well documented. I mean, basically, 11 years after his last Super Bowl appearance, Mike Tomlin has been 3-7 in the playoffs since then. And then he's also on top of that, too. He's only got a first to the AFC Championship game. But real quickly, I just wanted to give you a quick breakdown real quick. There's been 11 current coaches in the NFL right now. Well, 10 actually, excuse me, if you minus out Sean Payton. I mean, Mike Tomlin is one of 3 coaches right now who has 3 playoff wins since their last Super Bowl. Those guys are Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers, Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks. But here's how it goes. Here's the breakdown of the coaches right now that stand in those categories. You have Sean McVay right now, who is 5-1, of course. I mean, since his last Super Bowl appearance, he won last year. So, I mean, in fairness, I mean, we can't go off this year, but prior to that, when his Rams team lost in Super Bowl 53, 5-1. So Super Bowl champions. Next up, you got McCarthy, who's 5-7. He's had 3 one-and-dones. And that was since Super Bowl 45. Sean Payton, since Super Bowl 44, he has also been 5-7. He's been 1-and-done 1 time, which is back in 2019 when they lost the wild card round to the Minnesota Vikings. Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers. I mean, he is 3-1. No one-and-dones. Pete Carroll, 3-5, 2 one-and-dones. Those 2 came in 2018 and 2020. Both versus Dallas Cowboys and the LA Rams. And then you got John Harbaugh, who's 2-4, 2 one-and-dones back-to-back years in 2018 and 2019 with Lamar Jackson when they lost to the Titans and Chargers. Andy Reid, he has been 2-1, no one-and-dones. Bruce Arians, 1-1, only once as far as divisional loss. He is retired now. They got Todd Bowles, of course, right now as the head coach. Then you got Ron Rivera, formerly of the Panthers and the Washington Commanders, who was 0-2 right now. 1-and-done in the wild card round twice. And last but not least, hard to believe, Bill Belichick, ever since winning his 6th and final Super Bowl, 0-2. Where 2019 was last season with Tom Brady, which he eventually forced out. They lost to the Tennessee Titans, and of course, last year to the Buffalo Bills. The only thing is, like I said, we could always talk about how Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. Okay, a lot of these guys on this list cannot do what he did. But the thing is, the bottom line is this: when you're in a town like the Steelers organization, granted, I mean, the competitiveness of this game has changed tremendously. The only thing he is not excusable for is being one and done 5 times and 3 straight times since the AFC Championship loss from 2017. That's the part that is really hurting him the most, in my opinion. Like I said many times, he's not going to get fired, I don't feel. But at some point, I do feel like, what pressures we put on, patience will run out at some point, or they'll need to have hard conversations right there. I mean, some people have been speculating like a certain privilege has been taken away as far as like letting someone else call defensive play calls or whatever. I mean, the bottom line is, he's always going to stay competitive. I mean, he always keeps saying we don't live in our fears, but yeah, I mean, he's a competitive guy. He hasn't had a losing season. Some people are kind of spinning it as he's just playing not to lose. I don't believe that, but I do want to see right now, because I'll be honest with you, my evaluation of Mike Tomlin is just as of late. Let's just call it what it is. He's been a great regular season coach. I've personally, if you get back to the playoffs, win a couple playoff games before we start talking Super Bowls. Get as far back as you did to the conference championship game if you can, or past the divisional round. That's what I want to see. Start doing consecutive years, or when you're in those times where we're really knocking on the door. Because to be honest with you, I do feel, like covering this team as a fan person myself, we're only going to get so far. And it just makes you feel a little stuck. And that's why, when we know he's a damn good coach. Well, when you're talking about being elite, those are the biggest indictments on Tomlin right now. And that's going to do it for this edition here of the Mountain Steel Podcast. Once again, you guys can follow me on social media, on Twitter at Mountain Steel CGR, and on Instagram at Mountain Steel Nation. As I leave you, don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, serious. Here we go. I gone. Thank you for watching the Mountain Steel Podcast with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for all the latest Mountain Steel Podcast episodes, feel free to download them on Mixcloud, Anchor.fm, and SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.